All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome. So this is lesson 2.1 about savings basics. Now this is a unit all about saving. And in this unit, ladies and gentlemen, there are going to be 4 lessons that we're going to cover. They're going to be very quick. Some of them will be a little longer, but what we're focusing in on is kind of the basics of how to save money and the reality for today's generation as we move forward, that things are changing and that you guys have to make sure that you actually take the time to save your money. Okay, so in this lesson today, we're going to specifically talk about how saving is linked to overall wealth, the difference between, describe how saving and investing are different. They are 2 very different animals. Understand fundamentals of saving, such as reasons for saving, how much, and strategies, and acknowledge the role of delayed gratification, which I know is a challenge for some of you. Okay, so let's begin. Have you or your family ever saved for something? That's one of the big first things we want to talk about. Maybe you did. If you did, what were you saving for, and then what strategies did you use? If you've never saved for anything, then that's a problem. Okay, if you ask your family, hey, have we ever saved up enough money for anything? That's an issue. Because what you guys need to understand, the greatest cause of pain and suffering in a mental health standpoint, one of the greatest, is debt. And the ability not to pay for things or to think about the future and what you cannot afford. Now, emergencies will happen along the way. And the question is, will you be prepared? My hope is that you will. And during this lesson, we'll kind of learn some strategies about it, okay? One of the things is so right off the bat, truth about millionaires. I will be quite honest. This is one of those exercises, ladies and gentlemen, where when you are walking through it, when you click on it, it talks about a flash drive or not. It's a true or false questions, okay? I want you to walk through these individually, so I want you to pause this video and to go through this exercise on your own and to be honest and truthful about your feelings on it. Because the issue is that a lot of days now, if you watch any type of news cycle, if you look at anything, millionaires are frowned upon. It's bad to be a millionaire, mainly because they're like, well, let's tax the wealthy. And I understand why people from that side of the aisle want to do that. But then you also have to understand where people that have their money come from. Most of them, okay, work actually. Millionaires don't actually work, they have people work for them. That is a false statement because most work more than 45 hours a week. Now, is it true in some circumstances? Sure. But not every individual goes in there. So it's always bad to cast people into certain bubbles. When I was in the military, it was great. I enjoyed it. But when I got out, I joined the private sector and worked at a company where the boss was a millionaire. He took his money and he invested into a company that helped it grow, and he made millions of dollars. Now, I'm not talking like tens of millions. I mean, he made maybe $1 or $2 million a year, which is impressive because over time, it does add up. But then that person, he also in his company employed over 300 people. So I've never gotten a job, nor have I seen somebody get a job that the person that they're working for is not a millionaire. Do those jobs exist? Sure. But are they few and far between? Yes, they are. Okay. Now, and this is when I'm talking about a large corporation. If you're by yourself and you're an independent contractor or you're a small business owner, ladies and gentlemen, you are thriving and trying to get to this point, but you know it takes a lot of hard work. So go through this and we'll figure it out. And then ask, has it altered or supported your views of saving? Okay. How are you going to get there? That's the main thing. What is wealth? Okay, some things, a lot of people talk about what really wealth is, and they look at it and say your friends are your friends, and you notice a classmate always has brand new clothes, shoes, and electronics. What would you need to know in order to tell if this classmate's family is actually wealthy? How are wealth and savings related? As we move forward, I want to make sure you guys understand this concept. So behind door number 1 is a tiny little video that's in between. If you click on that link, what is wealth? It should open a video that would come up. Let me see if I can just get this out of the way here. Here's the video right here, and we're going to watch it real quick.
Hi, it's Paddy Hirsch at Marketplace. So when people talk about wealth, they're usually talking about money. But in actual fact, wealth is all about assets. And the way you can tell how wealthy somebody is, okay, is by looking at the assets that's the stuff that they own, and subtracting the debt, the stuff that they owe. And when you run that equation on somebody who you think is wealthy, a lot of the time they turn out to be not quite as wealthy as you thought they were. Let's take our neighbours, who we've got Anne and John, right? Anne lives in this beautiful mansion out in the country, it's a huge house, and down the road from her lives John in this little 2 up, 2 down. And Anne's got this garage, it's stuffed full of beautiful cars, Rolls Royces and Ferraris, and John's got like a little Toyota Camry that he bought second hand a couple of years ago. Anne's got this beautiful boat that she keeps in the marina, this fabulous motor yacht. And John's got like a little sort of 10-foot dinghy, right, that he keeps in his garage. So when it comes to assets, Anne has clearly got a lot more, all right? Her assets add up to about $7 million. John's assets, on the other hand, are about $600,000. But remember, wealth is about assets minus debt. And Anne has got a lot of debt. For one thing, her house is really heavily mortgaged. For another thing, she still owes serious inheritance taxes to the IRS. And she still has student debt. Altogether, her debts add up to about $8 million. So her wealth is actually negative $1 million. John, on the other hand, bought his house, his car, and his boat for cash, which means he has zero debt. So when you do his wealth equation, you see he's actually got wealth of positive $600,000. So although Anne looks like she's wealthier, it's in actual fact John who's the wealthy person here. And Anne, if she fails to make all these interest payments on all this debt that she's got, well, she's going to be left very badly.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is a very true statement and one thing that is always overlooked, okay? One of the big problems I've always seen, not just with my generation, but with yours, is understanding what is really wealth. I mean, it's nice to have a big fancy house, but if you're mortgaged out to the yin yang on that house and you can't pay for it, guess what? You don't own the house anymore, okay? The bank will have it. That's what happened in 2008 when we had the big bubble pop in the housing market. Everybody was overextending. They looked wealthy, but the reality is they weren't. They couldn't afford it. I have many friends that actually suffered through that time frame because I thought they were well off and wealthy. The reality is they ended up not being. All right, the difference between saving and investing. Now, there's a video that's going to be in here, okay? And watch this video and use what you've learned to answer the following questions, okay? So what we're going to do, watch this small one real quick, go from
there. Saving and investing are two terms that are often used interchangeably. In practice, however, they are two very different tactics to help you reach your financial goals. Let's start with saving. It's the simpler one of the two. Saving is the amount of your income that you tuck away for a rainy day or near-term goals. And by tuck away, we mean somewhere where safety is typically your number one goal. Bank savings, checking accounts, and certificates of deposit are great examples of places to put your savings. Most people think of savings in terms of shorter-term goals and needs, perhaps funds for an upcoming vacation or a personal emergency reserve. So how is investing different? When you invest, you are buying an asset that you believe will generate a return over time. In other words, the main reason you invest is so your money will grow. Of course, with investing, there are typically no guarantees, and most investments are better suited to long-term goals, such as retirement. So with no guarantees, why do people choose to invest in addition to saving? The answer lies in the increase in the cost of living over time, otherwise known as inflation. While savings vehicles may be good for putting away money for short-term goals, they typically don't generate returns beyond the level of inflation. In fact, they often lag inflation. That can mean your money isn't just standing still, it may be losing its purchasing power over time. The first goal of every investor should be to outpace inflation so their money can generate a solid, real return. That's the return after inflation. So while most investments do not offer guarantees, they generally offer the potential to beat inflation. Saving and investing go hand in hand, and each has a place in the financial plan, but they are definitely different. Talk to your financial advisor today about how you can start investing.
All right, so we'll worry about that later in life as you guys move forward. Okay, one aspect is making sure you guys understand what this actually means up here. Okay, so determine whether this is an example of saving or investing. Putting $20 per paycheck into an account to help pay for books during college. Well, you guys know that should be saving. So on the notes, put saving. Contributing 3% of your paycheck to a 401k plan offered through your job. That's investing. Okay, that's a 401k plan, by the way. We'll talk about in investing. You can't really touch that until you're 65 years old. But what it does is the 65 today isn't as old as it actually used to be. I'm closer to that age now than I am to, well, I'd say 16, okay, or even 18. I'm right there on the bubble. I'm like halfway there between the two. Buying shares of stock in your favorite clothing company, okay? That's an example of investing. Giving your cousin $5,000 to help start his business in exchange for 5% of his monthly profits. That is investing. I know a lot of people that actually do this. Shark Tank made it popular during this. People would walk up, they'd do an investing pitch. Depositing your annual income tax return into an account until you have enough to buy a car, that would be savings, okay? And then read through this last one right here and understand what to do in terms of that, okay? And number 2. The other one here, learn the most important reasons to save money, okay? This article gives you 7 reasons why, okay? Which of these types of savings are you already doing? Which of these 7 reasons to save is not really an example of saving, but rather investing, okay? So save for an emergency fund, all right? Are you guys doing that? We had talked a little bit in the last unit about checking. Some ladies had brought up you need to have emergency fund that ideally is 3 to 6 months, okay, of expenses. And that's for when you become an adult, all right? Right now, as a young adult, still 18 to 20 years old, you don't really need to have that. You want to have at least $1,000, recommended by Dave Ramsey, a gentleman that we will use a little bit of the curriculum. He's $500 only while you're in high school, and then when you get beyond that, it'd be $1,000, because that $500 would basically fix your car if you need to, and that's where it sits right there, $500 to start. Emergency fund needs to grow. Save for retirement, okay? That's really something that you want to do, but it's also part of investing, all right? When you want to put your money into a 401k, which we will talk about later, because interest is compounded and it grows even faster, especially at a young age like you guys. Save for a down payment on a house, okay? That is savings. Save to maximize interest rates. All right, read about savings accounts on here. You got to skip through a lot of ads, but that's okay. Save for irregular or recurring expenses. And the last thing you'd want to do is for your college education. Now, here, you guys were doing this in high school as seniors. Okay, we still have, most of you, by the time we do this lesson, 7 months before you graduate. Okay, so you have plenty of time, especially here in Arizona, where you can make $12 an hour working minimum wage. And if you have really no bills and you work at least 20 hours a week, you can start to save up a significant amount of money if you are smart about it, okay? How much do I save? So, CalPen will give us a little bit of a pointers on this.
Is it old laptop
After the
still
ad.
trying to boot up?
From Chromebook. Thank you, Chromebook, for all your beautiful ads.
Booting up as fast as 6.
What are you gonna get?
Well, I'm about to do it big today, man. You're gonna see. I'm very hungry. Hey, can I get an Angus steak sandwich on brioche and some double fried Belgian frites and spicy to the end, please.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Trying to count calories or something? Hey, I really respect that.
No, Kevin, I am not on a diet. I brought my lunch from home. I want to save money.
Save money? Great call. By the way, how much have you been trying to save? Because I've been meaning to.
Well, nobody really knows how much is enough. You're just not supposed to spend money on crazy extras, like ordering a whole menu at a food truck. I mean, everything looks amazing. It's just not a good habit financially.
Totally. It's something like that. Change my mind.
Look at you making good choices. Saving doesn't mean you have to skip lunch, though. The road to saving starts with knowing how and when to set money aside. Speaking generally, you can never save too much or start too early. It's all just a matter of opportunity cost, or trade-offs. Let's say you didn't buy some fancy $5 coffee every day for a whole year. You'd have saved up $1,300. Which one seems more worth it? The right now coffee or the future pile of cash? With that in mind, try not to cringe when I say that, as a rule of thumb, you should devote about 20% of your income to savings. But don't worry, that's spread out over 2, sometimes 3 categories. First, you should be socking away money inside of your 401k, a retirement account that's set up through your employer. Depending on the details of your plan, your employer will likely match a certain percentage of your contributions, and it's important to max out that match, especially when you're young. The closer you get to retirement, the less time your money has to grow. So your savings dollars are never more valuable than they are right now. Next, you should be building a piggy bank fund, like this one that I use. His name is Trevor. This is money that you aren't saving for any specific purpose, but it's nice to have if the occasion arises. Maybe you lose your job and need to pay a few months of rent, or maybe what started as an emergency fund actually becomes the down payment on a house. The possibilities are endless, and way less creepy than this. Who knows? Maybe Trevor will get too chubby and you'll need a friend.
Hi, Trevor. I'm Liam.
Hi, Liam. I'm Trevor.
I'm concerned about your weight.
What? The final savings category is for higher education, and it may not factor into your budget just yet. Regardless, whether it's for a new degree you're pursuing or your newborn's future schooling, it's wise to get out in front of the tuition bills early. And the best way to do that is by setting up a 529 account, a tax-exempt fund that allows your education savings to grow over time, kind of like a 401k. It's a good move saying no to the freaks, but you'll probably have to put in a little more effort to hit that 20% threshold. The good news is, it'll all be worth it down the line. And I'm not just saying that because you're saving calories.
All right, so good advice there. One thing is that for some of you, it's going to be harder for you to understand the last part with the 529 account because you're already seniors and you're not going to have the chance for your money to grow. Now, if you are the type of individual that wants to delay their education, you could take advantage of a 529 account. We are just not going to be covering that in class, okay? All right, so what we will have is there's a data crunch that's outside this, so you don't have to answer this question. 5 simple tricks for savings. Here's a couple things, right? Trick 1, 4 banks, not one, right? Talks about kind of the different aspects of what you want to save, right? Give, save, invest in the bank, right? Now, they have little jars that they throw in. You know what? So for some of you, that might be a good idea. I mean, I know we have a give, save, grow account that we use for some of our children, and it's a big thing that you guys need to understand. It's okay to start small. When we get into budgeting, we're going to be talking about an envelope system where we deal with just cash, and you put cash in an envelope. So putting change and stuff into a jar really is not that big of a deal, okay? So read the tricks that they have there, and then talk about those and which one would be the most difficult. All right, cash the bank. All right, so what I'd want to make sure you guys could do is understand how you would actually split up $100, okay, where this one's relatively easy if it's given the percentages here. If you earn to $100 a week, and basically it's by percentage, okay, this would be what? $20. 65, 10, and 5, right? And then 150, you would need to use the calculation, right? So you'd be 150 times 0.2, and then you would get savings, and you go spending and all such and such and forward like that, okay? So make sure you guys know the difference. All right, don't eat the marshmallow. This is a very interesting video that we will talk in class. Now, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to put this up here and watch it because I want to make sure I end this. But it's very interesting video that you guys should watch, okay? Because it actually shows a student, and it's actually pretty funny, and it's a really good idea about investing though, because it's delayed gratification. One thing that a lot of people struggle with nowadays, okay? And then finally we have exit ticket. I want you guys to answer those. So this is one of the longer lessons that we're going to be having, but what I want to make sure you guys understand is it's very important to click through the hyperlinks and to go through it. Now, if you need if you need help with any of this math, please make sure that you come see me, okay? It's not very difficult. It's an easy setup, but just make sure you guys understand the principles of saving and the basics, okay? I look forward to teaching you the next lesson. If you have any questions, come see me. But ladies and gentlemen, get this student activity packet done and hand it in.